Device connected.
I'm approaching Caleta Olivia on the Atlantic. They left, oh crap, what was the name of that town? Puerto Julian this morning. My destination is Comodoro, Rividavia, and it's about another hour north of here, I think. But it has been one windy day, certainly the windiest that I've ridden through yet. And out on the flat plains, the wind's just been brutal. And this morning when I got up, I checked my wind app on the phone, and it showed the area that I was going to ride through was having super intense winds, and that was pretty darn accurate. They haven't really slacked off, but it's been let's see, it's been about a little over 3 hours on the bike, burning through gas like crazy. I don't know what I'm averaging, but instead of having about a 350 mile range, it's closer to 200. So it gives you some idea of the effect the wind's been having on the bike. But it's a beautiful day. The temperatures are a lot warmer than further south. It's been probably 75 degrees. So kind of nice to get away from the cold weather. I hope it just doesn't get hot ahead, but Buenos Aires should be about 2 or maybe 3 days. Well, probably realistically 3 days. Once I get to Rivadavia, I'm going to double check how I feel and decide if it's worth going on another 300 miles to Puerto Madryn. So we shall see, but it has been one heck of a windy ride the last couple of days. Problem with that, aside from the obvious fact that you feel like you're going to get blown off the road, is passing the semis. It's just feels like you're getting hit by a 2x4 for a second. And part of the big problem is there have been so many herds of guanacos on the road. It's been surprising, and they blend so well, even standing on the side of the road. You just suddenly realize there's 20 or 30 there milling around. You don't know whether they're going to cross the road or not. They seem to have more fear of the bike than cars. I notice if I change the RPM level, they tend to scatter, but it's been bad because you'll have to duck for the wind, and you're in a strong lean, and a big truck goes past and just knocks you all over the place, and suddenly you realize there's a guanaco standing right there. Big herds of them. Very, very surprised at the quantities I've seen. Also had a lot of the emus. I'm guessing they're emus. Lots of those along the road as well. So in addition to the wind and trying to keep the bike on the road, literally sometimes, you got to deal with those guys in the midst of it. So it's been a pretty exhausting morning, and yesterday especially, I didn't make it as far as I wanted to, because by the time I got to Puerto Julian, I had just been so beaten by the wind and stress that I stopped about 3 in the afternoon, and glad I did. Ended up the night before, for some reason I wasn't able to sleep very well. Ended up sleeping about 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon. So whatever, Buenos Aires is ahead somewhere.